All right, good afternoon, everybody. I apologize, we did have some technical difficulties in this particular session room, but I believe at this point, everybody should be able to see the screen now, and I'll let them go ahead and get started once I have confirmation through chat that everybody can see. All right, perfect. We got confirmation. I will turn it over to you, Nikki. It is all yours.
Great. Thank you so much, Troy. And I apologize for getting a little bit of a late start here and trying to learn all the new things here. So today we're going to be talking about Wholesale 101, and I'm going to switch over to my my slide deck here in just a minute, so that we can walk through a little bit about my background, as well as, of course, the whole presentation for today. So my name is Nikki Riojas. I'm the owner and founder of Made in Corpus Christi here in Corpus Christi, Texas, and I'll go through and kind of share some of the everything that I've learned along the way in the wholesale and retail environment, and we'll go through quite a few examples as well. So let me switch over to my slide deck here, and we will get started. So as I mentioned, we'll be talking about Wholesale 101. So this is very introductory, just getting started with the wholesale process. And my bio, I am, as I mentioned, the owner of Made in Corpus Christi. We also have a new brand that was just started in this year called Made in Texas Company. I'm a consultant for the Small Business Development Center, specifically in marketing and e-commerce solutions with Del Mar College and also with Texas State University. And I'm the president and the founder of the Women's Entrepreneur Society of Corpus Christi. And I started that in 2017. We've got about 100 different members, women-owned businesses in the Coastal Bend that we get together. We do education and all sorts of different events around the community and markets, and really focus on the benefits to women-owned small businesses here in Corpus Christi and the surrounding areas. So I've been in the retail and the wholesale business for a long time, since 2002. And I started my first company when I was 22. Building a specialty business that featured handmade designer goods from around 25 different women-owned businesses in US, Canada, and England. And we ended up finding a niche for ourselves in the celebrity gift bag market. That was a market back then, still is. And we had our products in the hands of a lot of celebrities. They're a lot older now than they were in these pictures, but you might recognize a couple. So I've spent a lot of time in my businesses on both selling and also purchasing in the wholesale environment. So today's discussion will really be a beginner's course on what to expect as a buyer and also as a seller. So we're going to take a look at the wholesale process here. And as I mentioned, today we'll be looking at two sides of the wholesale process. So the production side, those who make a product and would like to see it in retail environments, and the purchasing side. So retailers who want to purchase and stock items in their stores to resell. And while the process itself is not complex, there are a few things I've learned along the way to make things easier for both sides and do business in that environment. So what is wholesale? Wholesale in its simplest form refers to really just selling products to other businesses in bulk and at a discounted rate. So those businesses, the retailers, then make money by selling their products from the storefront or website to end consumers at a higher price. So if you're a maker of a product, who you might take on both the roles of manufacturer and wholesaler, and others may opt to purchase from a manufacturer and sell pre-made products to retailers. So those are considered more wholesaler only type of businesses. So $8.63 trillion is the total goods sales of US merchant wholesalers. And this was in 2019, so that number has likely increased since then. This number accounts for the huge amount of wholesale that's flowing through the US with very large corporations. And the wholesale that we're going to be talking about today is only a sliver of this number. But as small businesses collectively make up a large portion of the commerce in our communities, we make a significant impact to our economy as well. So the concept is pretty simple. Where do you want to be in this as you are looking at, are you a maker? Are you only wanting to resell? Are you wanting to sell in your store as a retailer? And then of course, as a consumer, we all consume this. So we all are a part of this process. The type of wholesale arrangement you might be most likely to encounter is between those producers and manufacturers, um, or wholesalers and retailers. So especially if you're a small business who is making those goods or a business who wants to retail them, that's kind of what we're going to be looking at today, those areas. Though there are wholesalers that sell to other wholesalers, and then wholesalers who also sell directly to the consumer, which would be like Costco. But we're not going to focus on that today. What we're really going to look at is the producer manufacturer part of that. So as smaller businesses, if you want to get your product into a retail environment, you will be looking more at the producer manufacturer and the retailer environments there. So how does wholesale work? Let's break this down in a couple of different ways. First, from the producer standpoint, I'm going to give you an example of what we do at my shop. Since we, as Made in Corpus Christi, are both producers and buyers, depending on the type of sale that we're working on. So again, this may not work for everyone. This is what works for our shop. We've been in business now for about 3 years, but I've had a variety of different businesses that have done both wholesale and retail over the course of, like I said, the last 20 years or so. So our business is a retail business with a brick and mortar store, as well as an online, fully operational, fully online store as well. So we sell hundreds of products. Some we make and some we buy from other small businesses and makers in the community, as I mentioned. So we also sell a select number of products that we produce or manufacture to other retailers in the city. So that's where we become the maker, manufacturer, of products that we then resell as well. So we really do take on both sides of this. So we're going to start focusing specifically on producers and what to consider first. So this would be if you are a small business who makes something, hand makes or has it manufactured, but you are the business, you are the one that's producing this product. You have a lot of things to consider before you take the plunge into wholesale. I've had a lot of makers and artists and designers come into our shop that want to sell their product to us, but after chatting with them, it's pretty apparent that they aren't ready to work on this relationship because of pricing roadblocks, inventory challenges, or time conflicts. It just takes a lot to manage. So we're going to break these down into a little bit more digestible pieces here. So the first one, pricing. As a producer, you have to set a price that is not only low enough for your business, for the business that you're selling to make a profit, but also high enough that you are still able to make a profit as well. So we'll run through an example of this in a minute. The second is your time. So your time is worth more than you'll be able to charge for as the business owner, and oftentimes the sole producer in a small business. So it's up to you to set boundaries and then also to determine how much of your time will be spent on each part of that business. Like I mentioned, wholesale takes a lot of time, preparation, execution. So keep that in mind as you're putting that plan together. The third is inventory. So you'll need to have inventory available as orders come in, or you're going to have clear expectations set for the buyer that they're going to have their product by a specific date. Having lead time that's acceptable for the buyer could be tricky if what you have to sell is something that is handmade, or if you rely on raw materials that you have to order. Especially now, there's supply chain issues that are still going on even a year later because of COVID. So the fourth one is communication. That is really key when you're working with retail clients, because you don't rely on traditional marketing methods when you're wholesaling. Your relationships need to be solid so that you can get those reorders and you can have that continual income coming in. The fifth one is terms and conditions. We'll talk a little bit more about that, things that you should consider putting into a document so that the people that will be purchasing from you will understand what your time restrictions are, what your quantities are, the minimum orders, all of that. And then sales methods, just a couple of different ideas that you might want to consider when you are ready to start wholesaling your product to retailers. So this is what I think catches a lot of people off guard, especially when I'm talking with them if they come in and they want to sell, say, coffee in our shop. Pricing for every product is going to be different, and it's dependent on a ton of different factors. So what I'm doing is I'm going to show you just a very basic rundown of what we consider in our pricing structure, but know that for every industry and every product, it's going to be a little bit different. You're going to have to think about your industry, your competition, the region of the country that you're in or you're selling in. So as we go through a few examples, keep that in mind when you're deciding what that pricing might be. Pricing is centered around cost because of the basic principles of doing business. So we have to know what the price of things, the actual price of things is. If you're a business, you need to make money so that you can continue that business. It's pretty simple. Businesses cost money to run, and they earn money by providing those goods and services. So in the long term, businesses need to make more money than they spend, or it won't stay open for long. To figure out how much money you're going to need coming in, you're going to have to calculate how much money you have going out. I am not a money-driven person as far as all the finances. I have a bookkeeper that I work with. My husband is also really great with his small business, so we work together on a lot of those things. If you are not very confident or comfortable working with these numbers, find somebody who is, that you can rely on, that you can walk through these things with, because it does get a little bit cumbersome trying to figure out all of your fixed costs, which we'll talk about, and your variable costs. And I've listed a couple of things out here. So fixed costs could include your rent, your mortgage, any kind of equipment that you might need to use for your business, insurance, salaries. If you pay people regularly, regardless of what they're doing, that's a fixed cost. Variable costs, so your raw materials packaging, like I just mentioned, the supply chain issues, those types of things will fluctuate based on the market, based on what's going on in the world. Same with packaging, and of course shipping as well, if you decide that you will be shipping those things too. So once you have a full list of your costs, you're going to want to research different pricing strategies. There's a lot out there. We don't have time to get into all of them now. So really what I'm going to be doing is showing you kind of a basic keystone markup, which is 50% or double what your cost is. So what we have down here is we have a cost of your mug is $3. The cost of that mug incorporates all those fixed and variable costs above it at a very small percentage per piece. Then the markup is at 100%, so it's 2 times. So the price of the product that you could sell would be $6. So that's double what you were paying for. Again, it's all going to be dependent upon those items that we talked about before, but this is a very, very simplified way of thinking about pricing and making sure that you are covering your costs in the pricing structure that you create. So the second one is time, which I think is the most overlooked cost of business ownership. You've added your time into the equation in the previous slide with work, but there will always be time spent as a business owner that you're planning, processing, reviewing, deciding what's best for the business. And that's kind of your boss time, right? That's what we're calling it, boss time. And the cost, that's really the cost of being an owner of a business. So you may be the only person in your business, which means you're the buyer, the assembly line manager, the inventory specialist, the salesperson, customer service, all wrapped up into one body. And that body needs to do things like eat and sleep and take care of family commitments and all of those things. When people talk about work-life balance, I despise that term because I don't know what that is. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs don't also know what that is. But we know that we need to have some sort of downtime at some point, or you're going to be worthless to your business long-term. So inventory is one of the next ones that we want to talk about. If you're going to be selling to a number of retailers, it's imperative that you concentrate on a few areas around your inventory planning. So however the retailer is selecting product to purchase, whether it's online or it's in person, through a catalog, make sure that the items are available by the time you set for them. So you want to make sure that it's available when they know to expect it. You really need to communicate clear expectations on your turnaround time and when the buyer can expect those orders to be received. Because, and I will tell you, as a buyer, there's nothing more frustrating to a business than when product doesn't come in when it's supposed to be, especially if we're planning seasonally or we have customers that are waiting for products to arrive. So that's one of those things that goes back to, again, communication and making sure that you are creating a good experience for those customers. When your order's delivered, make sure that the correct items are included. I think that's also something that's really a point of frustration for people, is when they get their orders, even if it's on time, they open up the box and there's something wrong. You want to make sure that that doesn't happen. So double and triple check to do those types of things. And communication. When you're selling in a wholesale environment, the relationships you have with your clients are undoubtedly crucial to the success of your business. So this is primarily because the wholesale business model relies on retaining your retail client base and getting repeat sales from the same buyers. And if you, especially if you have a consumable, which we'll talking about again on that, if they love it, they're going to keep buying it. So you want to make sure that that communication and that service strategy that you have is in place so that they want to continue to do business with you. As I mentioned before, we sell in our shop both retail and wholesale. And communication above else is what I think is most important. And that's how we personally have been able to grow so quickly. People want to be heard, and they may want collaboration or order statuses. They want to be the first to see new products when you launch them. Those are the types of relationships that you have where if you say, we'll do something exclusive for your shop, if it makes sense, or we'll do something specific, or we'll let you know first if there are a top buyer for your business. Those are the types of things that will secure those relationships and keep people coming back to you. Another point we should discuss briefly as we're talking about communication and trust with your retailers is wholesalers typically they sell on credit. So, which means you won't receive your payment up front when you are selling unless it's included in your terms and conditions. And again, it's just dependent upon the relationship that you have with your retailers and what you set. But many will request net 30 terms, which means they'll have 30 days before they pay you. So you have to have at least enough income to cover those costs for 30 days before you get paid. And that's pretty standard. So terms and conditions. As a producer, you want to ensure that by selling wholesale, it's worth your time and your effort. As a small business who makes or manufactures product, there are more variables in place than if you're a large corporation who is just buying large quantities of an item and then turning around and reselling them at a higher price. So because of this, you want to be very clear in your terms and conditions, what's expected when buyers do business with you. So this not only covers you when discussing quantities and turnaround time and the per piece cost, all of those things, but also sets a tone for what the buyer should plan on when they're placing and they're awaiting their orders. So this is an example of ours here, the wholesale term that we have in our catalog. And we list it out there that for the first opening order, we have a minimum order of $250. Again, we're talking small, we're not talking big, huge, massive wholesale operations. That is required, payment is required when they pick up the product. So that we've put that in there, that's what we say, it's handmade or it's produced locally. We want to make sure that we get paid on that. Now, I do have certain clients that have been long-term clients with us that we have net 30 on. So we'll just invoice them, they pay in 30 days and it works out great. But they've established a relationship with us ahead of time. And so that makes it much easier to know. We know they're going to pay, we know that we'll continue to have a good working relationship, and then it's easier for them to do business with us. So those are things that you can consider as a seller once you get started in this as well. So we're going to go on next to the sales method. So promoting yourself as a wholesaler is much different than traditional marketing for retail sales. So B2B sales, business to business sales versus business to consumer, B2C sales, those function differently. And it's much more, again, about building those relationships with your customers versus mass marketing and promotion to an end user. So think billboards, TV, radio ads, those types of traditional marketing. Something that we have done with Made in Corpus Christi is we've done with this business a catalog, a PDF catalog. So it's on online only. We haven't printed it. Catalog of all our wholesale products. So then we upload that to the cloud, and then we send a link out to potential retailers if they're interested in purchasing our products. So they then can download the link, or they can open it up and they can flip through virtually and see all of the different products that we have available. The positives of this are that we have a very professional marketplace, a very professional marketing piece that allows them to see that we are a real business. We solidify our position as being reliable, respected in the community, and people want to do business with us. And appearance does matter in sales. And by putting our very best foot forward when we're sending out this type of collateral, our close rate on new sales is very high. So between communication and the marketing materials that we're sending to these retail businesses, I think we're at like 95% close rate on anyone who's requested looking at any of our wholesale catalogs and then putting in orders after that. So, of course, the product then has to match the marketing level that you've already put out there. So you want to make sure you have good quality merchandise that matches those marketing materials. That's what we'll have them coming back. It's also something that we can edit as needed with this virtual document. So we don't have the cost of printing and reprinting a physical piece. I would love that. I'm a marketing person for the last 20 years as well, so I would love to have a physical piece, but it is much more economical for us to do it virtually, of course, at this stage. While we do have less costs associated with an electronic piece, we still do have to make edits as we clear out product, we bring in new product, and I have designers on staff that are able to do this for us, and also I have a graphic design background, so we're able to do that in-house. If you do not have that or you're not able to edit them yourselves, you would then have to hire out somebody, but it's still going to be a lot less expensive to hire the design work only versus to hire the design work and then also the printing and the production. And this is just a great example of how you can use a sales method like online sales to help build your wholesale brand. So this is a good friend of mine. Her name is Ashley Seahorn. She started Bangle and Babe right before the Hurricane Harvey in 2017. And she was a new mom. She wanted to have something that would just allow her to be more hands-free and be able to carry things a little more easily. So she created a product and had these pieces manufactured. So they were manufactured overseas, but they're actually put together and they're assembled here in the US in her shop. She has, over the course of the last 4 years, amassed a huge following. She has a completely separate website for her wholesale. So whereas we are sending out a PDF and we have an Excel spreadsheet that we have filled out that our customers have to fill out and submit back to us, she actually is big enough that she's created a separate wholesale website where people can put in all their orders. I think she's in 700 or 800 stores around the US. She does a ton of online retail sales as well, but she has established herself as a leader in this wholesale community for this particular accessory. And it's really impressive to be able to see how she's able to work all of this, as somebody who has started, really, she didn't have a business background and has built this really fantastic company over the course of the last few years. These are just really nice ways to be able to, as a manufacturer slash producer, create these environments that are much easier for retailers to purchase from. So just another idea and something that you could also include in your own website. There are just some things that you have to think about back and forth with pricing, but she has created her own. It's password protected. You can log in and you can check the status of your orders. You can do all of those things, but in a wholesale environment, which is great. So the next part, we're going to talk about the retailer side. So things to consider as you are a retailer wanting to purchase wholesale for your, let's say, for your business, for your shop. We're going to spend a little bit of time talking about how that process might go for a business looking to carry products from a wholesaler. This could include a number of business types. So while I'm talking specifically about my experience as a retailer with a gift shop, not everybody's going to have that. Of course, it could be a coffee shop that has a gift wear section. It could be sporting goods, whatever it is. Keep in mind that in order to buy items wholesale, you'll need to have a wholesale license. So depending, on if you've heard resale ID, wholesale ID, retail reseller license, any of those things are considered the same. You can have a brick and mortar location, you can have an online only location or shop, and you could have both in order to qualify. You don't just have to have a brick and mortar. Although you do want to make sure that when you are buying wholesale, some wholesalers do not, or they have a limited amount of online only businesses that they will sell to. This has changed significantly in the last few years because so many people are going online, but consider that if you are online only, you may want to double check and make sure that they will still allow you to purchase from their company. So in the last section of our discussion, we're going to focus specifically on these 4 things here. So We're going to talk about product selection. We're going to talk about wholesale suppliers and where to purchase. We're going to talk about how much to stock, and then also promotion and how to promote. There are a ton of other components to retail purchasing, but since this is a basic overview, and because I started late, I want to make sure that I cover as much as possible for you, just in the basics again. So we're going to talk now about product selection. So as a retailer, wholesale buying allows you to offer a much wider product selection to your customers. And because of the lower price per piece that you're getting, if you plan well, you can keep a nice stock of inventory while also buying more items that fit within your brand. So one of my favorite shops here in Corpus Christi is a home and garden shop called Wildflowers. And the owner, her name's Terry Moore. She does a phenomenal job of curating lines of very unique products that range from large, one-of-a-kind furniture pieces, antique furniture pieces, to lower cost gift items where she might have stocked 20 or 30 in her store. She also carries specific line of products, like you can see here, the candles in the photo and the room sprays. I think that she might have an exclusive with the brand that she purchased from, I'm not sure, but it's really nice because her customers know that they can always come to her for these specific items, and that if she's running low, a restock will be coming. They know that she continues to carry this brand. So consumables, and I mentioned this earlier, consumables like these are great to have in stores because if a customer likes them, they'll be used to them, they'll use them up, and then they'll come back to you to buy again. So those are the types of things. We carry candles in our store, we carry jellies, we carry snack items, because if somebody wants it and they know they can get it from you, they will continue to become a customer over and over again on the retail side. Wildflowers is also well known for bringing in new items on a regular basis. So they include sometimes like monthly, I think, or every other month. They do, she brings in product lines from other local artists. So maybe jewelry makers, earrings, all sorts of different types of unique pieces that are only available for a short amount of time. But you know that she'll be bringing in, releasing new things. She does like seasonal items. She has fresh cedar garland that she has over the holidays. So those are things that that clients and customers look forward to, and they know when they want to go back and get those items, or when new items are released. So by keeping new items in her store consistently, there's always a need to go back or check items out on the website without getting bored and seeing the same thing all the time. And then branding. Branding is incredibly important to retailers, and Wildflowers is like at the top of their game with this. So whether you're looking at their Instagram profile, Facebook page, website, if you walk in, if you see them at a market, their image and their branding is always very, very consistent. And that's one thing that you can do without even spending a lot of money, is just making sure that whenever people see you as a retailer, they know the type of product that you're most likely to carry. And they also know that they cater toward you as the consumer that is drawn to them. So those are two things that are really important when you're thinking about what type of product to source and what type of product to bring into your retail location. You really need to know who your customer is and what types of things they're most likely to purchase. So wholesale suppliers. When you're ready to start working with wholesale suppliers, my suggestion is to take your time and try to figure out exactly what type of products, again, you think that would sell best in your business. SCORE has a great blog, I think it's a blog post that I came across of things to consider. So I'm going to share a few tips from that, and I have it. I don't know if I have it linked down here, but you can always just search on the SCORE website for wholesale suppliers, and they'll give you it's a great resource. But we'll run through that here for a couple of minutes. So the first one, we're going to talk about assessing your needs and resources, and we're going to look at researching your industry, network within your industry, attend industry events, and if you get to the end of that and none of it makes sense, you can consider hiring a consultant. We're going to go back real quick. So the first really is, when you are researching your industry, you're going to want to look at sales history. So make sure you have the sales coming in enough to justify the fact that you want to purchase other things wholesale. So review your past sales, see if you're ready to make that move. That's going to be something that's really important. And then most wholesalers have minimum purchase amounts, which I touched on earlier. So you need to identify the products that are best suited for bulk sales. So as an example would be the candles that Terry had in the last slide. So she knows she has to buy a specific minimum amount in order to carry those items wholesale and then resell them at a higher price. So think about too, warehousing. Where are you going to store all of these things? I have a very small shop. It's attached to my husband's shop as well, and he does not like it when I put all of my inventory into his shop. So I have to be very careful about where I store things, how much I purchase. Those types of things have to be taken into consideration, because the last thing that you want is a pallet of product coming in and you have no place to put it, right? So we have to think about that. And then your projected sales. Are you projecting sales that are large enough to cover your storage costs and then to avoid potential losses if they're perishable items or they have a limited lifespan? So you have to think about those things too. The second one is, again, researching your industry. So all industries have their own product supply chains and wholesale supplier networks. And it is time well spent to research the ins and outs of that within your market. And just a couple things to think about. So B2B marketplaces, Alibaba is a big one. If you're just looking at things that you can buy in large quantities, it's the world's largest online B2B sales website. On the next slide, which we'll talk about some that are more specific to retail and to smaller businesses that may make more sense. Look at industry trade publications. So wholesalers want to find you, so they're going to be advertising in those types of publications. So find some, get a subscription, and then start looking at those as they pop up. Business directories are great. So multiple business databases are available with information about almost every company worldwide. Those can be expensive if you get if you have to purchase that. So you can always go to the public library. Reference USA is one I think they listed there, that you could go to a library and you could find the references and you could take a look there. And then network with your industry. So learning firsthand the best practices in general, and then wholesaling in particular, is a good reason to actively network with your industry peers. So think about, if you're going to an event, you might have local competitors that you know of in the area. It's not like you're going to walk up and you're going to ask them all of their trade secrets, but it is nice to be able to at least have some sort of working or amicable relationship with those competitors, so that should you need something, they have it, or they need something and you have it, those are things that you might be able to work on, understanding that especially in smaller communities that doesn't always happen. It's at least good to know what you can find out and where people are sourcing materials or where people are getting things. And then also online networking. So you've got Facebook groups, you've got LinkedIn. I didn't mention business networks, so like your Chamber of Commerce, SBA community groups. Those types of things are also of organizations are also great to be a part of, because there are networking opportunities there. There are partnerships that can be found. So by reaching out and talking to other people who might be in similar industries or may have some connections, the better off you could be in the long run. And then attending industry events, now that things are open again, they're not all virtual. There's great trade shows that are available. There's usually at least one a year in each of the industries that, if not multiples, that you might find. You can go out and you can meet with different people in a different market than you, maybe in another part of the country that might have good ideas. You might meet new vendors, you might meet new people who would suggest different wholesalers for you. Just different ideas that can keep you thinking about where could you source product, what would be the best opportunity and the best option for your shop. And then at the last, if you need to hire someone to help you, if you know that you've been going through all of this and it's just not making sense to you, there are consultants, there are reps that are out there that you can purchase, that you can hire, that can help purchase for your store. A lot of people, especially small businesses, don't have that luxury of hiring someone, but know that is an option if you need it. If not, I would suggest going to the SBDC, talking with an advisor there, and getting some of those resources. They have some great tools and resources that can also direct you if you're not in a position where you would be able to hire someone. So as I mentioned, we're talking a little bit about wholesale suppliers. So these are a few that we either purchase from with our business or we are on and we are selling through. And we just started not too long ago. So we've only really started to get some traction on Abound. We've had some inquiries, I think, in Tundra and Handshake and Range Me as well. If you like to go to things in person, think about like the Dallas Market Center and some of the markets that they have. There's a gift market. There's different ones in areas around the country, not just in Texas, but of course it might be something that you might consider too if you are close, or it's something that you want to do, a day or two to go out and physically meet with and see a lot of different suppliers that are in this area or are just here to help sell and provide product for retailers in the area and around the U.S. So as wholesalers and producers who are selling on these products, or on these platforms, and we'll go back, just jump back for a second, be sure to look at the costs that are associated with adding your business before you get stuck in something that is price prohibitive for you. That's one of the things that I found. A lot of times people don't have that markup added to wholesale. Once you realize that places like Abound and Fair take a commission, unless you bring your customers to them, they will take a commission for anyone who purchases from you. So I think the first one on Abound is maybe 15% of the total cost that they take, and then if they purchase from you again, then I think that goes down to 8%. But you need to make sure that that goes into account of your cost structure when you're creating for a wholesale. So it's great because there are places that people can find you if you are a maker. It's also great if if you're looking for sources where they've got really nice handmade items, or they're not on Amazon, or they're women owned. You can source different product lines through places like this as retailers. So there's some benefits to that, but also make sure that you're looking at all the fine print and seeing how much you will be foregoing if you were to jump on these services and these sites to sell specifically. So stock, the biggest challenge that many retailers have when deciding to purchase wholesale goods is trying to determine how much of each item they want to keep and they want to purchase. So when you're buying product, you have minimums that you have to hit in order to get the discounts on each item. But depending on the amount you think you'll need, you can oftentimes get deeper discounts for the more you purchase. This typically comes into play with manufactured items over handcrafted items, though, because if you think about it, a business that I have when I first started 20 years ago was hand painting glassware. Okay, I can hand paint 1,000 glasses and it's still going to take me the same amount of time and manpower to do one glass as it is if I only did 10. So it's not going to be beneficial for me as a maker to sell at a deeper discount if I have to make that many, because the cost is not going to be any better for me if I sell it at that. In fact, we'll probably start losing money. So things to consider if you are a maker in that. If you are a retailer, just know that if there are specific minimums you need to make, I purchase products that are shown here. Both are Texas-based businesses. They have relatively low quantities. I think we buy like 12 of each of the different flavors at a time. It makes it nice because I know I can get through that pretty quickly with my customers, the people that are coming in and buying online. Other places might have a minimum quantity of 50, or they might have minimum quantity of 100. So you have to really decide what's best for you and your business and how much business you have coming through the doors. And then promotion. So as with any retail business, marketing and promotion is key to your success. I am a little biased, as I mentioned, because when I was running my businesses, I was also managing marketing teams for businesses during the same time. So my background is in marketing. But I can tell you that smart marketing decisions directly and positively impact a business's sales. So you do want to spend time, even if you're not sure what to do, either hiring people to do that or doing some training yourself to see what you can do to really try, again, to build up your brand, get your name out there, show people the quality merchandise that you have, and make sure that when you get all this product that you're going to be purchasing wholesale, that you're able to resell it and sell it to people who will want to buy it. I mean, that's really, really important. If you think about every aspect you can when you're deciding on how to promote the products you've decided to purchase, that's where you're going to spend a lot of time. So is it through traditional marketing efforts like email newsletters, physical mailers, networking events? Are you going to rely more on social media? Are you going to be doing Google ads? Have you decided you're going to go to a lot of marketing or markets or events, trade shows? Whatever it is, I would highly suggest creating a marketing strategy around that. So as you get into wholesale, you know how much of your budget should be spent on inventory and how much of it should be spent on promotion, because one without the other is not going to be pretty. You're either going to have a lot of promotion and no product, or you're going to have a lot of product and no promotion. So they really need to work hand in hand. And we really could do an entire session on product marketing, and I probably have. But as we wrap up, keep in mind that no matter how great your products are or how on brand everything is, if you aren't reaching your target customer, none of it makes any difference. Stocking your store with beautiful merchandise won't bring in sales. So a marketing plan that makes you think about things that you might have overlooked and helps you get a handle on the entire scope of your business is really going to be imperative to the success all around. And as I mentioned before, talk to an SBDC advisor if you have one, to get help on this if you need it, and they can help you do with create plans and work with marketing specialists and working with website people and whatever you need. Because if you have a great brand and a great business that you want to be successful, these people want you to be successful too. So I would suggest using those resources and trying to see what all you can do to make sure that you're making the most of the money that you're putting into your shop. So as we recap here, what we talked about today was from the producer side and the manufacturer side. We talked about pricing, we talked about time, inventory, communication, terms and conditions, and your sales methods. And then from the retailer side, your product selection, wholesale suppliers, how much they need to stock, and the promotion of those things as well. And I always wrap up my presentations with this slide, and I think this is a new group, so you probably haven't seen it before. But this is over 100 different client-generated photos that were taken and shared out on various social media platforms within the a 6-month or a year time frame. When you have a brand that both you and your customers believe in, you can build something truly incredible. These all happened our first year. All these photos happened our first year in business. So we went from no one knowing who we were to within a year, we had, and I consider these people our sales force, sharing, trying on, posting, tagging us, telling their friends. This is the type of brand that you want to have for your business, so that people can get excited about the work that you're doing. You can get excited about bringing in new products. They're looking forward to the next thing. It doesn't always happen. I'm well aware of that, but man, when it does, it's great. So this is what I hope that everyone strives for, and what everyone can get with any of their small businesses that they're working on. And that is it for me. So I know we ran a couple of minutes over, and I apologize again for the beginning part of this. But if you have questions, I think we can open up Q&A if we have any for a few minutes. Otherwise, feel free to send me an email or a message. I'm happy to answer any questions anytime. I'm going to exit out of here. All right. Rosie, do we have any questions?
I don't believe so. I think we had, like I said, we had the technical issues, but we got those figured out. But I think that was it.
All right. Well, thank you to everyone for joining us, and hopefully we'll be able to get some new wholesale things going for everybody in the future.